Good morning,
Hello,
and welcome to Family Jewels. I'm Colton Bartell,
and I'm Audie Bartell.
and we are both graduate gemologists here at Suzanne's Custom Jewelers, and it's been a couple weeks, but we're back.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember the first week why we didn't make it. We were so busy.
We were so busy that we never, even in the afternoon, I'd actually posted on there that, hey, we'll see you in the afternoon. Yeah, that didn't happen either.
Yeah, I remember now.
So, and then this last week, I was actually gone in Dallas, so that wasn't going to happen either.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we're back now. And today, miraculously, we haven't covered this before. And I don't know how. But
Yeah.
we're actually going to be talking about ring profiles, widths, and sizing, and basically how that affects fit.
Yeah. And we may... the other thing that kind of surprises me a little bit is a lot of people that have been wearing rings for maybe years still don't know how to take a ring off.
Right.
I mean,
or even have it fit properly in the first place.
Yeah, well, for the most part, I think that happens almost all the time.
Yeah. But we're here to change that.
Oh yeah, but I don't know that we actually will accomplish that. I mean, for the most part, they wear the rings too loose, and they've done it for so long that
It's commonplace.
yeah.
But we still want to change that. Well, I guess, if we don't, then we get to replace them more often.
Yeah.
They get to buy more jewelry.
But I think maybe people would they would be a lot more comfortable if they wore them the right size. Does that make sense? So then they might buy more.
Maybe.
But
Maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, so basically where we're going to kind of start is talking about profiles of rings, and when we mean a profile is actually the shape of the ring.
And more the shape of the inside of the shank.
Yeah.
And
so when we're referring to shank, we're talking about the bottom portion of the ring that basically doesn't have stones and stuff on it. It's this bottom portion here.
I get over.
Yeah, the camera lens is right there.
Oh.
Yeah. Been doing this for...
Well, I'm trying to get it to where...
Well, you did print one out so we could show it a little bit easier.
Okay.
So basically it's like if you did a cross section of the ring.
That's going to be what, backwards on there?
Yeah, you're going to
so they can't read
backwards.
But you can kind of see here what we're going to talk about is that bottom part there, which is the inside profile. And you can kind of see here that the first four are basically
comfort fit,
which are inside rounds.
Yep.
And they're showing different comfort fits where they got listed on there. Light, comfort fit, heavy comfort fit. Oh, and then a scooped.
Oh.
I don't know how that got into the comfort fit section, but the scooped one.
Maybe that's the uncomfortable section.
that scooped one. Well, I guess there's some we call them almost hollow rings or hollow shanks.
Yeah.
They're, I guess that rib kind of gives them maybe a little more strength, but whenever we get ready to size them, it's a bad deal.
Yeah, it's a bad deal. It is. But yeah, the comfort fit, that one's gotten to be extremely popular, especially in men's bands. But we've been doing it in some ladies' rings too.
Well, and the other thing is, a lot of manufacturers, gold is expensive, so what they end up doing is somewhere along the line they're trying to hit a price point.
Yeah.
So they've got, we got to get a carat of diamond in here, and we got to get a ring, and so what they end up doing is they need to pick up $20 or $30 or $50 or something. Well, they come down in quality enough in the diamonds that they can't go any further, so they got to go somewhere. So they end up making a ring a lot lighter
thing to
especially in the shank.
hollowing it out.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of those deals where maybe that scoop part comes in.
Yeah.
Um,
That we haven't been doing on ladies.
right.
We've been doing the comfort fit.
Yeah.
Good morning, Gabe.
So I guess what we're wanting to kind of talk about is not only these profiles, but maybe even get a little bit into like sizing, because we run into a little bit of problem. We'd have some people that would bring a ring in and they want it sized to a certain size.
Yeah.
And we don't have any idea about actually maybe what that finger size is. We're just kind of taking their word for it. And they may have a ring that's a wide band ring,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not comfort fit, and they've been sized using a narrow
A
gauge.
narrow one.
Yeah.
Which
And,
really
and,
doesn't.
and they don't even know what they've been sized with. They bring it in, and so what we end up doing is we go, okay, so we're going to size it the way you told us, but it's your responsibility that it fits or doesn't fit.
Yeah, and it's going to be too tight.
Or too loose.
Yeah, depending on which way you go. And surprisingly, there's actually still a lot of stores out there that still don't size accurately. We have maybe some not as well trained staff that will have a wider band and still use a narrow sizer, and then wonder why it's too tight, or vice versa. We've got wide sizers and then they're sizing for just a little narrow diamond band, and then the thing falls off and they can't figure out why. It's because what happens is the wider a ring is, the tighter it will fit at the same size.
Right.
And so what it's doing is it's actually creating more friction, and it's coming into more contact with more surface area, and it's actually holding on to more skin and muscle than what a narrower band would at the same size. So it's kind of like it's kind of like the old Chinese finger trap kind of thing, If it was really narrow, you would be able to get your finger out pretty easy, but because it's wider.
Was that in the Pink Panther movie or something where they got the finger stuck in there? What was that comedy deal?
I don't remember.
It seemed like every time he got around that thing, he got his fingers stuck in there.
I don't remember. I remember on Addams Family that
maybe that's
Uncle Fester got his stuck in the finger trap that he was playing with.
Yeah.
And,
How do you get out of that? Do they have a lock or something?
On that one it did.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, we was talking about those comfort fits. They are somewhat measured a little bit differently than even using the narrow gauge or the wider gauge.
They're kind of a hybrid.
Well, and what the deal is okay, where that's rounded on the inside like that, whenever we go to measure that, we're actually measuring the smallest distance. So,
which is the very center of the ring.
Right.
And the outside of the ring is actually a bigger size.
Right.
Yeah.
So it somewhat fits more like
a narrower band than what it actually suggests.
But not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're a little easier to get off.
They are more comfortable to wear, which...
Well, except in maybe ladies' rings, they tend to
but
don't like that bulk.
Yeah, the wider bands, though, it's definitely better than having a flat inside, where usually you get sharp edges on the ends, which isn't fun to wear, especially if you're picking something up. A lot of guys will,
but it's
pretty much all the
it's more a guy's thing than it is a lady's thing.
Yeah, pretty much all those comfort fit ones are men's bands. Yeah. So, used to have a sterling silver cuff ring. It always fit better than the. Let me see what else your comment says here. I used to have a sterling silver cuff ring. It always fit better than the more narrow band rings I had. But to take that ring off, and it's because of that width,
right?
And so I guess one of the other things we're going to talk about is how you get your rings off. So you want to stick around for that, because that's
maybe since this is kind of brought up, we talk about that a little bit now.
Okay.
So
I hope you stuck around.
So to take a ring off, a lot of people just grab that ring and pull. Okay, so I'm pulling.
Sounds simple enough.
Yeah. Well, doing this, you're basically, what you end up doing is you start dragging this loose skin on top of your finger.
Yeah.
And actually that ring seems to fit tighter.
Well, the other thing
And
you're
then they
doing
flex.
too is, whenever you have your hand out like this, like everybody thinks that, the straighter I make my finger,
Yeah.
the easier it is to get it off. Well, what it's doing is you're actually flexing this or stretching out this muscle down here underneath.
What's that muscle called?
I don't know.
It's a finger muscle.
It's
Okay.
bad today. See what happens when we skip 2 weeks? Somebody's full of jokes over here. And so anyway, you actually cause this muscle to expand, and so your finger is actually bigger than what it is in its relaxed state, and so it's harder to get that ring off. So first thing you got to do is you got to relax.
Relax.
Relax. Not that relaxed.
Oh.
But you've got to relax your hand, and then you've got to push up on the bottom of the ring, push against that muscle that is now relaxed.
And looky there, it just comes right
Oh
off.
my goodness.
In this ring.
Can we see that again?
Oh, you want slow mo?
Slow-mo.
I'm relaxed. Looky there, just comes right off.
I feel like we need Madden in here, like drawing on the screen.
Oh, X's and O's.
Yeah.
And I probably need to be a little bigger. I mean, because he's a big guy.
Well, no, you're the one he's talking about in the
Oh.
replay.
Oh.
You never see Madden actually see him doing this. You just see him
No.
writing on the screen and hear the voice and all excited about it's football.
We could maybe get. I don't know how we would do that. Can we just do X's and O's on the screen?
Yeah, but I don't know if they'd actually see it. That's something we'd have to play with at another time. We have the ability to do that kind of stuff, but I don't know how.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm not exactly sure how to incorporate that yet, so
Okay.
later date. But anyway.
Special effects coming in.
Yeah, that's a little ways down the road.
Okay.
Anyway, taking your rings off, whether it's a wide band or narrow band, if they're fitting properly, they should actually both be the same coming off. They should fit the same coming off. But a wider band is always going to be bigger in size than a narrower band in order to fit the same way.
Right.
So if you have a narrow, let's say a 2.5 millimeter band that's a size 6, and a 4 or 5 millimeter band, you're probably going to need maybe a size 7 for it to fit the same way.
No.
It'll be it could vary a
You're
little
going to
bit.
probably have to get up to like maybe 8 millimeter.
Well,
or
we're
more.
just
Right.
theoretically here.
Normally a half size anyway.
Yeah. But either way, they should actually fit and come off your finger the same way.
There are a lot of people out there that are claustrophobic when it comes to their finger.
Yeah.
Because I would say it seems like to me that at least everybody wears them a half size too big,
Yeah.
no matter what width they are.
Which is running a risk of losing it, of
Yeah.
it falling off. Because your hand is never spazzed out like that where you've got it so tense that your ring's just going to get stuck on.
And I guess the one that really bothers me is somebody puts a ring on and it's the correct finger size and they look at their ring and she goes, "Oh, it looks so pudgy. It's kind of puffing out there." And I'm thinking, nobody even notices that. I mean, it's not like you go around and go, "Look how puffy my finger is."
Yeah.
I mean, but what ends up happening is that ring.
You need that.
Because what ends up happening is the ring starts falling over to the side, or the other thing is it ends up like that.
Upside down.
Yeah.
Then you actually start doing damage to the ring and the stones and whatever it is that you're touching.
Right.
Which is fine. You can bring it in and we'll just repair it more often.
And we get
that's
to
fine.
see more that way.
Yeah. But ideally, we would like it so that, the stones and the pretty part of the ring is actually face up all the time.
Mhm.
And the only way that's going to happen is if it's fitting properly. So
The other thing, I guess, that is that comes up once in a while is whenever we have uh, somebody that has an engagement ring and a wedding band, and they've been wearing them separate, which that to us is kind of a bad deal because
Yeah.
one ring is actually wearing on the other ring.
Yep.
So there's a possibility, which this kind of helps a little bit, is say you start out with you've got this is a ring that's
Got two
two
matching
bands,
bands and the
then an
engagement ring.
engagement ring.
Yep.
So you get this one to fit right. It's a 6, and then you decide you've been wearing these apart, and what ends up happening there is like part of the diamonds are centered and part of them aren't, and then you got two of them, so one's going one direction, one's going the other way. So again, you're always fiddling with them, trying to line them up. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not all the time, but a lot of the time. So if you go and weld these together, what you end up doing is you don't have to worry about that fiddling,
Yep.
and you cut down a lot of the wear. But when you do that,
You now went from 3 narrow rings to 1 wide ring.
right, and whenever you're taking
Yeah.
these off, you would take them off individually. Now, when we weld them together, they're going to fit.
Can't do that.
They're gonna go on as one, and they're gonna come off as one.
Yeah. So they'll actually need to be sized up in order to fit properly.
So actually, what we end up doing is we increase the width of this ring. We actually triple it.
Yep.
So we go from 2 millimeter to 6 millimeter, and here, this case may even be just a little bit more than 6.
Yeah. So the reason, and a lot of people ask this, is why weld the rings together? Because we have a lot of people that, especially newlyweds, are like, well, I don't want to weld my rings together, and I just want to wear them separate. And it's like, okay, but you're always wearing them together.
Well, we'll normally ask.
Yeah.
Are you wearing just the wedding band, one of the wedding bands, part of the time or
Yeah.
something?
But normally they're wearing them together, and they just don't want to weld them together because they don't understand the point of it. But the point
that, and they
is
think it's like
it's going to ruin the rings or something.
Yeah, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
you're actually ruining the rings, not welding them together.
Yeah, because what happens is even though they're being worn on the same finger and they're together, they're still moving around a little bit.
Mhm.
And what's going to happen is it's metal on metal, they're going to wear each other out. And I've actually seen it to the point where it actually has severed the center stone mounting
Head.
completely off of the engagement ring and worn the other prongs off the other stones on the bands. So in order to avoid that, and actually this is kind of a twofold thing here. When we weld these together, not only is it reducing wear and kind of adding to the longevity of the rings, it's actually strengthening all of the rings that are being welded together because you're actually bringing together more width and structure from the other ring.
Well, and the other thing is it actually looks better.
Yeah, because everything stays,
centered.
yeah.
If
Say
you've got
symmetrical.
patterns or diamonds or stones or whatever, because I don't care who you are, there is no way possible to keep those all centered.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And so
loose. We can do it welded.
yeah. So welding them together
And
does
the other
does
thing
make it work
is, if
better.
they need to be taken apart somewhere along the line, that can be done.
Yeah.
But
So then the other thing is, we talked about whenever you add those together, you're going to actually need to size them up a little bit. So the beauty of doing all that is, if they're still individual and they need size, then we got to size each one individually. If we weld these together, we can actually size it as one ring, which actually strengthens both of them too.
but we tell them that because we have basically a common piece
Yeah.
in all 3 rings.
But we'll actually go back and hand engrave the
it'll
outside of the ring
still
to
look
still
like
give
3
the appearance of
3 separate
the
rings.
separate rings. Yeah. But by doing that, obviously the fewer welds we have, then the stronger it's going to be. We're reducing the amount of cuts and weld joints, and so we're maintaining the integrity of the rings much better by doing just one cut and weld versus multiples by doing it in multiple rings. And so,
Whatever he said.
yeah. But anyway,
Now the other thing is,
yeah,
there are going to be some rings out there. In fact, a lot, and we kind of talked about this a little bit on the one where we showed you the shank that was scooped. So this is a ring that looks, pretty wide. It's pretty wide on top. Actually, even the back of the shank is probably 4 millimeters, anyways. Maybe getting close to 5. The top of this ring is probably what, 12?
at least it's maybe more like 15 millimeters.
So whenever, say you guys have been listening a while or wherever, you're thinking this ring is going to have to be done by the large sizers, and we probably would check that, and we're probably also going to measure with the narrow ones. But why we're talking about this ring is somewhat scooped.
Yep.
So this top is not solid across. The edges are actually a smaller size than what the
it's
ring
basically
is
it's almost kind of hollowed out up in the top,
right,
to reduce weight. And part of that is if you get too much weight on the top of a ring, even whenever it's fitting properly, you can sometimes have it roll on you because it's
top heavy.
Top heavy, yeah.
For some reason, gravity works on that.
I know, it's stupid gravity.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe we could put like little spikes in there, and it kind of grip, instead of, you could have.
Don't let him make your rings.
That kind of stopped that roll.
Yeah.
Or
that sounds really medieval too.
But anyways, this ring, we can actually, this loose skin on the finger, even putting it on, you can actually accommodate some of that up in this hollow part of the ring. That's hard to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But,
it's basically kind of carved out though.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this ring, it's not going to fit that one, but this ring's probably like a 6 anyways, and I don't wear a 6.
No.
Maybe a 7.
Yeah.
But, you could actually fit this ring on even a finger size that normally, we would say maybe it's supposed to be a 7. You may be able to do this at a 6.5 and still get that ring on and off.
Yeah, even at the even with that wider width.
Right.
Yes.
So there's little things like that. A lot of people will have people call on the phone and they'll say, well, how much is it to size this ring? And
we have to go through all of this stuff each time. So when somebody calls and says, how much is it to size a ring? It's like, well, it can go from
X amount to X amount.
Or from X amount to up. Yeah, because without seeing the piece, because the other things that can affect sizing is the stones that are set in there and how they're set.
Right.
So in general, most rings can be sized up or down one size fairly easily, but there's other rings out there that they can be sized up 4 sizes. And some of those others, maybe that one size is the most that they can go based on basically how the ring is made, what stones are set in it,
and
how they're set, and maybe if there is open work done or if it's hollow.
What about an eternity ring?
If it's an eternity ring, we're not going to do much sizing on it. There's a lot of factors that go into sizing a ring, and I know it sounds really, really simple. Hey, I need to size this ring, but it is a lot more complicated than just throwing a piece of metal in there.
Even the metal type would dictate.
Yeah.
What we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we hope this was helpful. Gives you a little bit of insight into the whole process of ring sizing, what all goes into figuring out your finger size. There's a lot more than just throwing a sizer on your finger to determine what fits best.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like trying on shoes. You just go measure, you need 12. Well, that's not how this works.
Well, and
can change a lot.
and you can almost say that, you know, somebody could call up and say, "Do you have this shoe in a size 12?"
Yeah.
Uh, Calling up on a ring and saying, "I need to go up a size or I need to come down a size. What's it going to cost me?"
That ain't the same thing.
I mean, we can quote a price, but it may not be overly close.
Yeah. Yeah. So until we see it,
and
we have a finger to measure, because that's another one is, well, I want to surprise her with this ring, and I've got this washer that fits her finger. Yeah, that's not going to work.
I got a piece of string.
Yeah, I got a piece of string.
Or I got some paper that I taped together.
Yeah, we get that one a lot. Yeah. So, let's see. Oh, geez, expensive. All my rings need sizing. I'm so tiny now. How do you prevent them from falling off in the meantime? So, in the meantime, especially, so that, I guess that is a really good question, because we have a lot of people that maybe are losing weight. They're doing a new diet or something like that, and so they have a goal weight that they're wanting to get to, but in the meantime, they're losing.
Let's just talk about this. We've lost weight and the rings are too big.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the most part, that first 20 pounds that you lose is going to come out. I know this is not where you want it to come out of. It's going to come out of your face and your hands.
Yep. First things to change are going to be your hands and your face. Yep.
Yeah. So normally, after you've lost that 20 pounds, I would suggest that you, if the rings are too big, is that you size the rings.
Yeah.
Now,
however, if you are in the process of dieting and losing weight, or maybe it's a sickness or something like that, and you need basically like a temporary fix, there are temporary sizers that we can put in the rings. For the most part, they run about $10, but they are temporary.
Yeah, the other thing is, and Colton brings that up, and I wasn't going to bring up the temporary sizers because I almost think they get addicted to that.
Yeah, a lot of people, once they get that temporary sizer in there, they think it's the fix-all, and because they can kind of play with it and adjust it here and there, but over time, they will wear the rings out a lot faster, so they are temporary.
But the whole thing is they just get used to that, and they think, okay, $10,
yeah,
I'm good.
I don't need to size it anymore.
But it's a little bit kind of like earring backs. It's like, okay, so they fit now, and they've still been fitting, then all of a sudden they're loose and they lost an earring. What ends up happening here is what you need to do is that ring can be sized more than once, probably. So instead of putting that temporary sizer in there, after that first 20 pounds, which fingers are probably going to change at least a half size.
Yeah.
I would size the rings. They'll be more comfortable, be better on the ring than putting in a temporary sizer.
Yeah.
But again, you know, and like the sickness thing or whatever, I could see where, you know, you're going to know when you're not sick again, or I guess, or whatever. So somewhere along the line there, because it seems like to me, once people get started on that temporary sizer, it's like
near impossible to get them to actually size the ring later.
Yeah, it's like a crutch. And to some degree, you have a little bit of false security there, because somewhere along the line, that sizer is actually going to give out.
Yeah,
and
they're going to break.
Most people don't realize it. They just keep wearing it. But,
yeah.
And
again, it's temporary.
Yeah, but you can't
depend on it.
35 years or 40 years I've been doing this, it's almost impossible to break that addiction.
Yeah. So it like I said, it's a temporary fix, so that's kind of in your meantime. But ideally, we do want to size those rings, and we want to do it with you here. Whoever's going to be wearing the ring needs to come in with the ring so that we can properly fit it. Because like we said, you know, from the get-go, I would say 98% of the population wears their rings too loose.
Yeah.
Sometimes much too loose.
We will size the ring however you want it. But if it's not the way we think it ought to be, we're going to put a little disclaimer on there that
And have you sign it.
we did this at your request.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if there's loss later,
it wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
Should have been wearing it a little
Yeah.
tighter.
so it's one of those things, you know, a lot of people have a real tough time after, especially if they've worn rings for 30, 40 years, changing that habit. It's usually going to take 2 to 3 weeks to get used to that new fit. And a lot of times they're going to feel really claustrophobic to start out with. But the thing is it's basically just been wearing it improperly for so long that that's what's become normal. And so whenever,
And I think that's the whole deal behind that temporary sizer is the same thing.
yeah,
Just get used to that. And,
the fit and feel and
yeah.
yeah. So, but those are kind of your in the meantimes is either get them sized, or if say you've got 10 of them or something like that, you know, and maybe it's going to be a little bit out of the price range to get them sized at the moment. The temporary sizers are an option, but again, they are temporary. They're not just sizers.
We're not talking like 2 to 3 years.
No, we're talking maybe 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
But I've seen them where it's been
15 years.
Yeah.
They keep just
I
they'll
need
break one every year
I
and
need
have
another sizer.
yeah. No,
When-
please don't do that because they will wear the rings out even faster than
Than you would.
yeah. So anyway, if you guys have any other questions or comments, please feel free to comment on the video. Yes, sizers. The sizers actually, do they wear down? The sizers don't actually wear down per se because they're made out of a different metal than what the rings are. What ends up happening is they will actually at some
Wear
point
on the shank.
they'll wear they actually wear on the ring itself and actually wear
'Cause
metal
it's
from the
actually
ring
hard.
away.
It's actually a harder metal than
Yeah.
what the gold is.
But what ends up happening with the sizers is people will sit there and they'll play with them and adjust them here and there, and eventually they just break them.
yeah.
They'll break
And-
in
and
two,
I-
or
and
the
I've
little
seen 'em-
arm will break off, and
Or they get to where they're basically the same size as what the ring is.
yeah. So yeah, they in a sense they wear down, but not in the same way.
Yeah.
So anyway, but if you guys do have any other questions or comments, please feel free to leave it on the video or send us a message right here on Facebook. You can always visit us here at Suzanne's. We are at 4226 South Alameda in the Town and Country Shopping Center at the corner of Everhart and Alameda. You can give us a call at 361-991-7565. Always visit us right here on Facebook and check us out online at suzannes-jewelers.com. So we thank you guys for watching, and if you do need some sizing or you need to check your size or even just check and clean, please feel free to stop by and we can provide that service for you guys. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you.
Bye.